done by people like Thomas Jefferson, and Madame Curie, and all the great scientists, there's always been a trial by nature. But things that are altered on the genetic, most basic building block of life are not natural. And they are private property, and they're often protected by patents and trade secrets, and hence that's one of the big problems, because they can't be studied properly. Last year and in previous years in committees, we heard from academics who have continually expressed their frustration at not being able to study these things adequately. So we're going forth with a bill which is still being crafted right now, and one version is going through Public Health, another version will be going through the Children's Committee, shepherded by Representative Diana Urban, who's not been able to be here with us today. And what we want is to have genetically modified ingredients in our food streams labeled, as 62 countries require right now. And so we want to be able to make educated choice, and that's the most base design, and we know that an economy works best when consumers can make educated choice. Many people say that this is the realm of the Food and Drug Administration, that we shouldn't be working on this on a state level. Well, the Food and Drug Administration has shown over and over again that they will not apply their own science to this subject, and that more than 20 years ago, they just very casually gave it a GRAS rating, G-R-A-S, generally recognized as safe. And many people have noted the revolving door between big agribusiness and the FDA over years, and we still see that to this day. For some people, the very idea that big agribusiness, whom we've trusted since we were children ourselves, whose cereals we ate and whose products our children now eat, would do anything that might not be in our best interest, is almost too difficult to fathom. And in some people, it even creates a negative response. And there's been a lot of disinformation out there. Most recently, people just sort of say, oh, this is bad for our farmers. And or lately, you'll hear that if we pass labeling, it will give our farmer, it will put our farmers in a, quote, unfair disadvantage. We're working on this with several other states, Maine, Vermont, New Jersey among them, and we feel that this is so right for Connecticut. For one thing, we don't believe that we even have genetically modified crops here in this state. One reason is we're so small and we don't have farmers of that magnitude who grow things in such huge areas like you see in parts of the Midwest, where they grow things like corn to make partially hydrogenated corn oil as their, or corn syrup as their sweetener. But the problem we have is that some of our own producers use that as their sweetener, and they feel that if we labeled, like ice cream, for example, that would put our farmers who create that ice cream in an unfair disadvantage. Basically, if we do label, it would just put them in the same broad category with all the premium ice creams who also use that same sweetener. But there are non-GMO alternatives, such as evaporated cane sugar, which perhaps might be a little more expensive, but for a lot of consumers in the know, and this is an ever-growing group daily, I think people would be able to do that. But we cannot separate this issue from our own agriculture in Connecticut, which is a growth industry. And we have a lot of room for improvement. At present, only about 1% of what we eat as Connecticut consumers is grown in Connecticut. We'd like to make that be 5%, which is still seemingly a modest goal, but it represents a very big lift and an exponential increase. Many of you know from all of our farmers markets that Connecticut produce and products are as good as it gets anywhere. And I know a lot of people here frequent their farmers markets. We have more and more every year. I've got 3 really great ones just in my district alone, and I go outside my district and there's a lot of great farmers markets there as well. We're concerned because while we can't study these things, we're noticing that there's a huge growing anecdotal body of evidence that links GMOs, which is in about 70% of our food supplies, to respiratory, gastrointestinal, behavioral issues. And we find, and physicians find, that when people either reduce or eliminate genetically modified foods in their diet, that symptomology disappears or diminishes greatly. And we've clearly recognized that we have a tough road to hoe, because again, for some people, just the idea that this wouldn't be in our best interests is difficult to fathom. And we also, even us as legislators, find that we have to get the word to our peers. I think we're reminded that democracy is government by persuasion, that it takes patience, and we have that patience, and I think we can be assertive without being aggressive, and that we can be try to get the word out, and so that's our goal, and we would like to see this happen, and I think Connecticut is right to be the first place. After all, we're the Constitution state, and these things matter to us. So we have several people to speak today, and first I'd like to introduce, and I'll have some of our legislators if they'd like to speak as well, but the first person I'd like to introduce is Tara Cook-Littman. Many of you know there's an ever-growing grassroots movement throughout the state. Some of the first people were people in Tara's neighborhood down in Fairfield County, and over the last several years there are more and more people throughout the state of Connecticut who are really attuned to this issue and would like to see change. Tara is a lawyer by profession and former prosecutor in Manhattan, and she is a parent, and we certainly have in the grassroots a lot of parents because they literally have skin in the game here. And Tara grew up in Connecticut and returned to Fairfield to raise her family, and received her bachelor's degree from Brandeis University in American Women's Studies and her law degree from Cardozo Law School in New York. So our first speaker is Tara Cook-Littman.